On Wildlife Wednesday this week, I'd like you to join me on a flight to the Masai Mara. Following on from last week's episode of Wildlife Wednesday, when I spoke of a typical day on safari, typical for me at least, if not for others who've been on safari in the Mara. In this week's episode, I'd like to share my first experience of the wonders of the Mara, and also how I actually got there in the first place. I'll do this by sharing a story from Wildlife Dawns, a free PDF which you can download here if you wish. Travelling from Dublin, Ireland to the Masai Mara, Kenya is no cakewalk, and as most people who have flown long distances will know, it can be extremely tiring and energy sapping to an even fully fit traveller. For someone like myself, who had been through what I had suffered and recovered from over the previous 11 months, it was, I have to admit, a truly arduous trip. I flew from Dublin to Istanbul, Turkey with Turkish Airlines, and I have to say that it's a wonderful airline and I can't recommend them highly enough. From Istanbul we flew onward to Jomo Kenyatta Airport in Nairobi. I had pre-arranged a taxi which took me on to Nairobi's other airport, Wilson, and so I began the final leg of my long journey to the Masai Mara. From Wilson to Old Kiambu airstrip is a short flight of about 25 minutes in a 12-seater Cessna. And at this point in my story, I'll depart from the text and ask you to sit back, relax, and join me on an edited flight from Wilson to Old Kiambu. Looking over the pilot's shoulder at the approaching landing strip suddenly brought it home to me that I had arrived. I really was in the Masai Mara, at the home of a dream which was about to come true. Little did I know at this stage that it was everything I had hoped it would be, and so much more. I'd been the only one of the passengers on board who was alone. The rest were either couples or a group. So I stepped off the plane last, stood for a few seconds and took a deep breath, thinking to myself, well, Michael, you're here. It may be your one and only visit, so make the best of it. You may not get another chance. I was also the only passenger heading to Entum Camp, which meant that for the short journey of less than half an hour, I would have the Jeep which was waiting to myself. This turned out to be a great advantage in many ways, as I was about to discover. An even bigger advantage was the guide driver who had come to collect me. I didn't realise at this stage that he and I would spend the whole of my time in the Mara together. Petro was so knowledgeable about everything about the Mara. He turned out to be as important to my photography as any piece of my equipment. He was able to put me in particular positions to get the shots that I wanted, which I doubt I would have gotten had I not been able to avail of his knowledge. His skill as a driver was also something that became extremely important, which I would discover over the coming days. One of my very first wildlife encounters on the way to camp was with zebra, and I could still remember thinking as I fired my shutter like a machine gun that I needed to get as many shots as possible, just in case this was the only time I came across them. How naive was I? I really had no comprehension of just how prolific the wildlife of the Masai Mara actually was. From the time I first met Petro to the time we arrived at camp, I had photographed not only the aforementioned zebra, but lions, elephants, topi, eland, giraffe and hippo. This whole experience was surreal. I have already said that from Old Kiambo airstrip to Entum camp, the jeep ride was about half an hour. Well, it took us about 2.5 hours that first day. Being his only passenger, Petro was quite willing to stop any time I asked, and he'd stop for as long as I wanted. I was in heaven. And so we come to today's slideshow, which is a collection of pictures I put together from those first few hours as we drove from Old Kiambo to Entum camp, which was to be my home for the next 9 days. I hope you enjoyed them. Thanks again for watching Wildlife Wednesday, folks. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you did, I'd be grateful if you'd give it a like and subscribe to my channel. And when you do, don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. If you'd like to purchase a copy of From Sunrise to Sunset, you can follow the link below the video. Till next week, stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands and wear a mask where necessary, while continuing to maintain social distancing. We're not out of the woods yet. We're getting there. Take care, folks. Bye.